Hey guys, it's Jess. I'm sitting on my living floor again because I've just got a lot of plants. I was just thinking, given it's the turn of a new decade and the end of one, I wanted to do a video of the top 10 plants for my 2019. These plants are not necessarily my favorite plants, but I think they just capture a highlight of my plant journey for this year. So I just wanted to do this little video to share with everyone what were my top 10 plants for 2019. First plant I've got to say is my Retiree Boreum. This is my #1 plant moment of this year, and also because he was my most anxiety inducing plant for 2019. So I remember when I first got the opportunity to add him to my collection, I was so happy about it because this guy is a very unusual looking plant. He's a strapantherium. He's got incredibly long leaves, extremely leathery, and I just thought, wow, what an unusual looking plant. And when I had the opportunity to purchase him, I was so excited because he was a beautiful specimen with, I think, 5 to 7 different leaves that were very long. But I got him during winter and I didn't have the best setup to help him acclimatize. He started having some root rot, and I was pretty devastated because this was the plant I had really wanted to get. So I went on this whole journey of reaching out to people on Instagram and getting tips to try and save him, because you can see he's still recovering right now. This bit, he had this leaf, it used to be this long, but because of he was just suffering so much, his leaves started to rot, and I had to like progressively snip them back, and it was so sad. And this, you can see it too, I had to take off the bits of the leaf that were rotting. But now I'm pleased to say that he's doing quite well. This is a new leaf, which is very exciting, and he's got some new growth, so I'm very happy with him. My Retiree Boreum definitely takes the #1 place in my top 10 plants for 2019. The second plant for 2019 is my Painted Lady. Now, my Painted Lady, she's a beautiful plant. The Painted Lady was another plant on my wish list for 2019, and to say that I was able to get this specimen, this size specimen, I was just incredibly, I guess, blessed and lucky to be able to pick one up for a relatively reasonable price. Isn't she a beauty? Painted Lady, she's huge. Definitely a plant moment for this year. I'm just so pleased with her. I never thought I'd be able to get a Painted Lady of this size and for the price I paid. I think I want to say I paid 60 bucks for her, which I know she can retail for a lot more in Australia. I think the average price I've seen is between 80 to 100, but I'm so pleased with her. She is one of my favorite plants, I've got to say, just because of her usual patterns and variegation. It's like red stem and green and yellow leaves, like what? Crazy. So my Philodendron Painted Lady is definitely takes the #2 spot for my top 10 plants. #3 is my Obifolia. Now, my Obifolia, it was one of these plants. My Obifolia actually got me into houseplants a year ago, but this Obifolia is a recent acquisition because I guess over the past year, I haven't had ever since I got into houseplants, I haven't really been able to find an Obifolia at a price point that I thought was reasonable, until I came across her, where I picked her up from a clearance section of a nursery for $10, and look at her. Look at the size of her. She's huge. Definitely, she is a beautiful plant. I love all the folias. I love their foliage. I think their foliage is so stunning. The leaves are so round. She's getting so big, and I think she was the find. I've got to say, she was the find of the year for 2019. Definitely a highlight when I found her hidden away in a corner of a greenhouse. She did have some crustiness, but she's definitely looking a lot happier, and she definitely makes me happy. So I love my Calithea Obifolia. The #4 plant for 2019 is my Bokya. So guys, I don't think I've featured my Bokya in any of my videos until now. So a Bokya is a plant that's native to Africa, so that it has quite a bulbous trunk where a lot of the nutrients and a lot of the water is retained, because these guys live in semi-arid conditions. Now, the reason why this plant takes my number 4 spot is really because of the friendship or the opportunity I got to meet with a fellow plant Instagrammer in Sydney, Chester from the Sucky Garden. So Chester, rare succulents and cacti, and I came across his Instagram page. I came across the Bokya on his Instagram page, and I was like, wow, what an unusual looking plant, because he had his Bokya trailing so beautifully around this really amazing trellis. And so I DM'd him and I was like, what an amazing plant, any chance that you have one for sale? And he said, yep, come over and pick them up. And when I went over and met Chester in person, he was just such a lovely guy, such a genuine guy. Also, another reason why my Bokya takes a number 4 spot is because my dad bought this trellis for me, and he saw that my Bokya was growing so big, so he was like, oh, I think you need to trellis up. So I thought it was a very sweet thing my dad did, and I got him on this tomato trellis that my dad picked up, but I just thought it was so sweet of my dad to do it. So my Bokya makes it to a top 10 because of the sentimental value it has to me. So number 5 is my whale fin sansevieria. Now, my whale fin sansevieria was probably, I think this was the first ever plant mail I dared to purchase in 2019, because up until that point I was really nervous about buying plants online because I just wasn't sure about the quality. Also, I'd like to inspect my plants before purchasing them, because still, as a novice plant owner, I always want to make sure I'm giving, when a plant comes into my care, I'm giving it the best chance of survival. But my whale fin was definitely a very nice plant moment I had this year, because one, it was my first plant mail, but also look at the whale fin. I really have a soft spot for whale fins because of their beautiful shape, and they're just such a beautiful plant, super easy to take care of. But I really do love a whale fin sansevieria. But this is my number 5 plant for 2019. The next plant that makes it onto my top 10 list is my silver dollar vine. Now, my silver dollar vine marks my first venture into the more expensive plants, because up until February this year, which was actually quite early in the year, my silver dollar vine was the biggest plant purchase that I had, and I had been umming and ahhing about spending, this plant was actually $50, so I was umming and ahhing about whether I could justify spending that amount of money on this plant. Guys, I really wanted this plant, and I think I just bit the bullet and was like, you know what, if you really like it, you have to take care of it. And so I picked up my silver dollar vine in February, and it really marks the beginning of me getting into some of the more rarer or more different types of plants. Also, guys, silver dollar vines, can we just have a moment? They're so pretty. They're so unusual with their leaves, right? I really like the trellis. Now, the number, I forget what number we're up to, but the next plant that makes it onto my top 10 list is my humble Monstera Addisonii. Now, guys, at the beginning of the year, I had one vining Monstera that I'd been trying my hardest to try and save, because he was a cutting that was given to me by a friend I met on Instagram, to Black Thumbs. I don't know if she has her plant Instagram anymore, but she gave me a Monstera Addisonii cutting, and that was the first time I'd ever, I guess, got a cutting from. So generous of her to be able to give me something, but alas, that Monstera didn't really survive, and I was pretty devastated because I really liked the Monstera Addisonii, and I got this, my second Monstera Addisonii, later on in the year, and he's just gone from strength to strength. Look at his new growth. But a Monstera Addisonii is such a beautiful plant. I'm very pleased with him. I know that the more fenestrations he has, the happier he is. So I was a bit nervous at first because his plant, his first leaf didn't have that many fenestrations, but definitely his new leaves are getting bigger and his fenestrations are becoming a lot larger, so that's definitely a sign that I think he's doing quite well. So my Monstera addisonii is definitely one of my top 10 plants for 2019. The next plant I wanted to show you is my Fafugium or wagon wheel plant. This is the Leopardprint wagon wheel plant, and he makes it onto my top 10 because I just love his patterns. I've always, I remember the first time I saw the Fafugium, isn't that a great name by the way? I was just like, wow, I've never seen a plant with foliage that looks like this. I remember I was looking through Gumtree, which is sort of like a trade list in Australia, and I saw somebody was selling this plant, and I just remembered when I first saw this plant was during a time, it was in the middle of the year where one of the projects at work was wrapping up, and so I don't know, it was, I think, a bit of a sad time in the sense because this project was wrapping up, and so a lot of my friends that I had made during this project were moving on, and we met up for lunch one day, and I was like to them, oh sorry, I'm just gonna duck out a little bit, like during lunch, I've just gotta duck out because I'm meeting the seller of this plant, so I've just gotta pick up the plant. And I think during this, some of my mates were like, excuse me, what, you're just going to pick up a plant from a stranger? And I was like, yeah, just give me a sec. It was amusing to me because I guess normally people don't expect you to pick up plants from strangers during their lunchtime, but this guy makes it onto my top 10, one for that memory, and also because I'm just very pleased to find one of these plants because I really do like the foliage. He's been munched on a bit, which is my bad. I haven't found the caterpillar that's done this to him. Plant number 9 is also a plant that brings back a really nice memory I have of this year, and it's this Tassel Fern that I purchased maybe a couple of months ago. This Tassel Fern I bought with one of my plant friends, Mary. I picked this up with her when we went out for brunch, and then we visited a plant store, and when we were preparing to leave, I came across this Tassel Fern, and there were 2, and Misty, the owner of Green Beans, she was sort of saying, you guys can have them for 40, and I was like, Mary, should we get Tassel Fern each? Because I think in the lead up to seeing this Tassel Fern and ultimately purchasing her, I saw a lot of Tassel Ferns. They seem to be like a hot potato for a hot minute. Yeah, and we both got a Tassel Fern. So this guy makes it to number 9 spot on my top 10 plants for this year because again, I just remember how excited I was to pick up this Tassel Fern, and I just remember me looking, because Mary's very tall, and I just remember looking up at Mary being like, Mary, we're gonna get a Tassel Fern. And I don't know if she was equally excited about the Tassel Fern as I was, but I was pretty excited, and I'm so glad we both picked one up. So guys, my Tassel Fern is definitely one that brings up some really good memories of this year. And guys, the last plant that I have for 2019, he was actually, when I was writing out this list, he was actually number 3, but I have an onion. So I was going to film this outside because he's a big plant, guys. Look, he's a big plant. But I carried him. The lucky last plant I have is my Bonet. And this guy, I picked him up when I went to a collector's plant fair in, I think, April of this year, and I think this just marks my descent into plant world madness, because it was the time when I was just getting so into plants that I forced my boyfriend to drive me about 2 hours to this plant fair to look at plants. And this guy brings up memories of that day. This guy cost me $80, and I remember I was just umming and ahhing about this plant. Actually, this plant is the reason why I went to that plant sale, because guys, I don't know if you can see, his leaves, they're so twizzly. Isn't that so cool? He's so twizzly. These leaves are supposed to stick up like this as well. So I saw that they had a Bonet for their Instagram photo advertising this plant fair, and I was like, what a crazy looking plant. And I saw that they were having them for sale, and little did I know at that time how expensive plants could get. But I remember seeing him and I was like, this is such an unusual looking plant. I've never seen it before. This guy originates from Africa, the African continent, and you're normally supposed to just water him once a month, deep water him once a month, because he's a succulent and he doesn't like that much water. But I think it's been so hot recently, he could benefit from some watering, so I might water him after this video. But yeah, this I guess the top 10, the end of the top 10 plants I have for 2019. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and let me know what your top 10 plants were for 2019, or your top 10 plant memories. I found that a lot of my top 10 plants actually brought back a lot of really nice memories, which is why they made it into the top 10, I guess. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's getting towards the end of the year, guys, which yeah, brings back a lot of reflection for the year. I think my next video for the 31st is just me talking a little bit about why I started this plant channel and what it really means to me. And so yeah, guys, look out for that video. But other than that, I hope everyone is well, and I will see you soon. Bye.